think also at this point I'd like to remind everyone that an ex of mine called her butt No Man's Land. You're listening to Diminished Returns, the podcast about sequels, prequels, spin-offs and reboots. I'm Chris Scott, and across from me, he's also a person that saw the Great War. It's the older of the two of us, it's Mr. Alan Johnson.
How do pod people?
What is your mission?
To stop the war.
What war?
The war to end all wars.
Wonder Woman is one of the most powerful and popular superheroes in the DC Comics roster. However, in this age of cinematic heroes, Justice League teammates Batman, Superman and even Green Lantern have all made the leap from comics page to the big screen ahead of her. And while she did play a small role in 2014's Lego Movie and in 2016's Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, it was not until 2017 and the Patty Jenkins directed solo outing that the Amazon princess finally got her due. In 1941 she had sprung from the creative, if devious mind of William Moulton Marston, a hero that would triumph not with their fists but with love. So, how would this woman measure up against the modern male-dominated screen heroes of the MCU and the DC Extended Universe? Would the misogynistic pushback faced by other female-led films at that time best our hero? Or would she get on out from under like a true Wonder Woman?
Alan, we're talking about Wonder Woman from 2017.
That's it, 2017, yeah.
It's the second of the DC Extended Universe films that we've talked about in this podcast. The first one was, of course, Suicide Squad.
That's right, yes.
And that was so bad, it's taken us about 2 years to even face doing another one. I mean, this sounds like it's going to damn this film with faint praise. It's better than Suicide Squad. To be fair, actual suicide is better than Suicide Squad. I would probably just fucking hang myself if I had to watch that again. But, yeah, Wonder Woman from, your favourite and mine, Gal Gadot. Obviously, she was introduced in Batman v Superman.
BVS DOJ.
Batman v Superman, a film again I feel that we will have to talk about at some point in a full episode, but I just can't bring myself to watch it again yet because that's also terrible. But, DC, they're smart. They're like, listen, Wonder Woman's one of the biggest characters in our firmament of heroes. What we will do is we'll have her in this other film with this other two heroes without really any context before we give her her own film. Genius, lads. Really smashed it. So she was in that for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess Wonder Woman's here for some reason. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously they were going to make a Wonder Woman film. And this is what we got. Directed by Patty Jenkins, so I believe the first female-directed superhero film.
Yeah, it's sort of got like a whole bunch of accolades in that sort of vein. So at that point, it was the biggest budget of a movie ever directed by a woman. It was the first superhero film directed by a woman. It was the first female-led superhero film in over a decade at that point. And it was the first time that DC had mostly received positive reviews for one of their DCEU movies at a time when pushback against kind of female-led films like, Lady Ghostbusters. So interesting that all of those things kind of went in Wonder Woman's favour. And Patty Jenkins had only, at that point, really directed one major motion picture, which was Monster, the Aileen Wuornos movie with Charlize Theron.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, that's, a bit from the Marvel playbook is that sort of, we should get people to come and make these films that maybe aren't the people you would expect. And Marvel usually works out. And certainly, actually, in DC, I mean, the two big ones I can really think of, basically my two favourite of this DC Extended Universe films, the DCEU, for non-nerds listening. My two favourite of these series of films, which admittedly, there's not a great amount of competition here, but I would definitely say Wonder Woman, and then the other one is Shazam.
Yeah.
Which I actually think is legitimately excellent. Shazam is the one film of all of those films that I would recommend wholeheartly. Yeah, so like this is a pretty good... I do want to maybe get that out quite early. This is a very fun film, very enjoyable. It's really well made, and there's a lot of it I really like. We'll probably get to the bits that we don't like, but also, we're probably going to make fun out of a lot of it. But like, I don't want to give the false impression. Like, this is a solid, enjoyable, fun movie.
Yeah.
And there's lots about it that's great. This is the kind of introduction of Wonder Woman, or Diana, Prince, as she's sort of known.
That's right.
So, listen, will we swap between calling her Wonder Woman and Diana in this podcast with no rhyme nor reason? You fucking bet your ass. Will I then refer to some of the other characters in this film by their actors' names? Yes. Yes, I will. Because, you know what? We're like jazz here, okay? You just gotta keep up, baby. You gotta listen to the things we're not saying. But so this is the introductory film of, right, okay, here's her backstory, you know, this is her big show.
I think where the previous DC films in particular get bogged down is they have to really labour over that origin story. And in this movie, there's a little bookend with modern day Diana, and then we go back in time to see young Diana on Paradise Island, and we get a fairly good bit of her origin story, but it's not bogged down in the here once again we find ourselves in Crime Alley, once again we're leaving planet Krypton. You know,
it does it pretty swiftly. So it starts, basically this film takes place in a kind of flashback, and she flashes back to her youth as she's a wee lassie, and she's on this Paradise Island. Now, it's basically an island full of Amazonian women. Now, and that's obviously why they didn't call it Amazon Island, because that does sound like an 80s skin flick. Like that, you know what I mean? Like, Amazon Island is a very different film, and it's very much about, you know, you'd have seen it in a VHS store as a kid.
What is that movie? Is it Amazon Women on the Moon?
I've heard of that one, yeah. So, you know, they made some good choices there. Paradise Island and the official name of it, which I'm not going to pretend to say. But yeah, so, you know, the flashback is wee Wonder Woman, right? Wonder Girl, shall we say? Yeah. Wonder Wee Lassie. And her mum, Connie Nielsen, from Gladiator, she was in Devil's Advocate as well. And her mum is like the queen of the Amazons.
Hippolyta.
Yeah, and she's like, you know, I sculpted you from clay and Zeus brought you to life. And that definitely sounds like a fucking made up story that she's telling her daughter to be like, no, your deadbeat dad Zeus pumped me, right?
This island of no dudes, somehow we made a baby.
Yeah. We made a baby and we made it out of clay. No, your dad's a god. Your dad Zeus is a god. That's why he's not here. It's like, this all just sounds like there was just some deadbeat guy and he pumped her and he was like, yeah, I've got a meeting in the morning. You know, definitely sounds like a lie. But I'll tell you what, I'll buy that it is Zeus. If you know anything about Zeus, Zeus loves pumping. Right? So you're trying to say to me he's like, Zeus has got this island of fucking statuesque rides and he's like, I'll tell you what I'm not going to try and do here. Despite having fucked everything else in this whole entire fucking universe, Zeus was a shagger. Zeus was like Russell Brand but not fucking annoying. You know? But anyway, I mean, to be fair, I do understand how perhaps a 4-quadrant superhero movie that they want to make like $500 million from probably would have been derailed if in the first 10 minutes it has Connie Nielsen explaining to her like 10-year-old daughter or whatever the fuck, right, well basically a god pumped me and he left me and that's why men are shit. I feel you're right, that might not have done it. So she is basically the daughter of Connie Nielsen and Zeus, and her aunt is Robin Wright as well.
Antiope.
Again, yeah, that's her name in that, Robin Wright. And she's like a mad warrior in the Amazon Woman, and she's like, and they're all training and fighting and sword fighting and all that. It's pretty a phrase that is overused by nerds, but it's pretty badass. I'll give them all that. Like, it's fucking cool.
She's only in this film briefly, but I think Robin Wright looks amazing, gives a stellar performance, and is really convincing as like a hardened warrior woman.
Yeah, they don't call her Robin Raw. That's why she's great. But, you know, very quickly we realise, okay, it's a secret island that Zeus has made for these Amazon women, and that basically back in the day, you know, Zeus had made all these women, but Zeus's son, Ares, the god of war, was like, nah, this is all shit and we're gonna have a big fight and blah blah blah. Zeus is like, well, no, he'll stop you, but here's the thing, right? Zeus and the Amazons stop Ares from destroying everything, but with Zeus's like last breath, as he defeats him and Ares fucks off, and they're like, oh, is he dead, is he not? Obviously he's not, or else we all know he's going to be in this film. Zeus, he uses all his energy to give the Amazons a special weapon, a god killer. Oh, I wonder what that god killer's going to be. I wonder why they're telling this 10-year-old girl, who's the lead character of this film. Oh, she's like, what about the god killer? She's like, oh, I'll tell you later. Oh, I wonder if it's going to be the massive sword that they talk about in the film. It could be that, or it maybe could be something else. Or, Alan, Someone else. Wink, wink. If you haven't figured out, like, if you're over the age of 12 and you have not figured out that he gave us the God Killer and he's your dad, you've not figured out that it's Wonder Woman. Movies aren't for you.
Everybody else is an Amazon, but one of us is made of clay, given to life by the top god.
And then when she asks about it, it's all like, oh yeah, when you're older. Right, okay, come on. That's just movies, right? But you need to be on board with that.
Yeah.
So very quickly, like, you know, we're seeing the wee lassie train. Very quickly, she's Gal Gadot. Gal Gadot, well known from one of the Fast and Furious films that I can't remember her being in. And from her cameo in the cinematic masterpiece of Batman v Superman. But she's all grown up and stuff. You're training to be a warrior and you're pretty good at it. And
she's been trained harder than any Amazon before her because her mother is worried that she's going to be damaged.
She's the Amazon Prime. Thank you. What I'm saying is that she's actually amazing, but her interface is terrible. Honest to God, seriously. If anyone from Amazon wants to hit me up about how to organise your fucking streaming platform.
Oh my word.
I literally want to watch a show the next episode of a show I watched the night before, and it takes me about 20 minutes going around your fucking menus. It's the season of goodwill, it's Christmas. So anyway, listen, Amazon, Bezos, I know times are tough for you right now, but if you can spare a bit of cash, I'll help you out.
Yeah, so Diana's been trained harder than any Amazon previously, and she's obviously been prepared for this great war that may never come.
Because they don't know if Ares is alive or dead.
No.
Nope. He's alive, guys. He's super alive. Of course he's alive. Like, again, if you haven't figured this out, this is your first film you've ever seen. You know?
But that beautiful, statuesque Amazons just need to be in an ever-ready state of preparedness.
I know you're like, yeah, of course, they live without men, and that's probably, you know, why it's such a beautiful society. But we all know they're going to be in sync. That's all I'm saying, right? Like, there's going to be... Like, I would like to see the start of that film...
It's just the lift doors and the Shining.
yeah. They just show you, like, okay, most of the month, this is a paradise. But there's like a solid week of just, like... just don't fucking get in anyone's way. But anyway, yeah, as you say, they need to be in a state of preparation and readiness, which is certainly the state that I'm in when I think about an island filled with beautiful women. But yeah,
I mean, obviously, like not to be all Mr. Wokey, but
why change the habit of a lifetime, Alan?
Exactly. It's unavoidable. You have this island of beautiful women who are all like in leather armour, exposed flesh, but it is weirdly subtle that you're aware that it's filmed by a woman. And
but it's not filmed the way I would film an island full of women. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say is, imagine Zack Snyder was to film this movie and you would have the Amazons dressed like those jailbait girls from Sucker Punch, his previous movie, in little sailor suits or like Catholic schoolgirl outfits.
That'd be terrible.
But it is weird. It is weird. Maybe it's not weird, but seeing a movie filmed by a woman and it shot these women as superheroes the way that we would see like male superheroes predominantly be filmed, and it wasn't like they were all sexualized. It wasn't like it was all focusing on like butts or boobs or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't filmed like a ZZ Top video.
Exactly. And suddenly you're like, oh wait, so without even ramming like this, oh, it's directed by a woman down my throat, just very subtly I'm in this world and I'm like, oh wait, it looks different, but it looks great.
Yeah, it makes all the characters look really good, but without having that sexualization.
We're also outside and it's sunny and it's colourful. We've gotten rid of those layers of grit and grime and darkness and that filter of gritty reboot, I'm Batman. Like, that's all gone. It's quite colourful and it's quite fun right from the get-go.
I'm not going to lie, that accent you did there was not only pitch perfect, but it's giving me a wee stoner. I don't know why. That's what opened up a whole new world for me there, Alan. That was very, very sexy. But yeah, it doesn't have that salacious... Again, the way I would have filmed it, because I'm a fucking man from the gutter, but, you know, and they look great, you know, like, and I mean that not in the sense that they're all good looking, but heroic and tough, and it's really nicely done. So that whole segment, it's very sort of brisk. We're giving you what you need, but we're going to do it in a wee fun way. You get to kind of know a whole bunch of information that you need to know, but it doesn't feel like a slog like a lot of these films can. And then very quickly, a plane has crashed just at the banks of the island, this mysterious island that's hidden hidden from the outside world. Oh no, what's going to happen? So obviously Wonder Woman is like, right, I'm going to save whoever's crashed into the sea. She pulls this guy to the beach and saves his life. And it's Chris Pine, who's, I think we can all agree, has come from behind to be everyone's favourite Hollywood Chris.
Absolutely. Chris Pine has quietly been putting the work in and is just suddenly now he's primo Chris.
Other than me, right? But I mean, I'm talking about Hollywood. But if we're talking Hollywood...
Yeah, which was really funny recently when there was that Twitter poll, which was who's the best Hollywood Chris. Everybody sacked off Chris Pratt because he's part of a crazy church that hates gay people.
Yeah.
After the absolute torrents of abuse that other stars have had because they happen to be women or people of colour. Suddenly the battle that all of those Hollywood A-listers from the Marvel universe decided to fight was to go, oh, Chris Pratt, he's a nice guy, he's my pal. And you're like, hang on, Brie Larson was getting fucking death threats for being in a movie, but you've decided the hill you want to die on is that Chris Pratt is an alright geezer.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, so the Hollywood Chris's, we've got Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, and Chris Pratt. Now, out of the four of those, you thought Chris Pine was at the back of the list. So Chris Pine, everybody loves him.
I know.
He's smashed it. He's absolutely smashed it.
Captain Kirk, the big K.
He did a great Captain Kirk as well. He did a mini-series thing. I think it was co-produced by Patty Jenkins.
Okay, right.
I'm not going to say it was great. I can't remember what it's called, right? But it was based on a true story and it had elements like the Black Dahlia in it.
That sounds great.
It was an actual mini-series. See Chris Pine in it, man. Every time he was on the screen, you just went, that's a movie star. And that's why he's a movie star. Every scene he was in was fucking electric. And he's great in this Wonder Woman film. He's fantastic.
And right from the get-go, the chemistry between Gadot and Pine, they really make a great pair-up on screen. Sparks right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And obviously, this is the first man she's ever seen.
I mean, that's not a bad one. Fair play.
I mean, starting strong. And obviously now, piercing this bubble of paradise, we're aware that the Great War, World War I, is going on just outside this kind of protective bubble that Themyscira's behind. And Chris Pine's Steve Trevor has brought the war to Themyscira. And so there's German troops pursuing his plane. And that causes massive tension on the island for the Amazons because they're like, we don't want anything to do with man's world. The world of man is bad, pollutes everything. Let's get this guy GTF.
Get him to fuck. So basically trying to find Chris Pine, the Germans basically try and invade this island. There's a boat, they get the guns out, they start shooting. Of course, what they don't realise is that it's an island full of Amazonian warriors, so they all kill all those Germans.
And it's a sort of first big set piece of this movie as well, to have that battle on the beach between the Amazons and the Germans. It's a really great sequence, good, exciting, fast-paced.
Yeah, so basically the Amazons are like, what the fuck? This guy's just brought all these Germans. Chris Pine's like, not me, I'm an American spy. And he tells them all this because they've got the lasso of truth, which is a brilliant thing where when you get the lasso of truth around you, you can't help but you spill the beans, baby. You've got to tell the truth. At this point, it's important to know that Wonder Woman was created by a guy called William Masters Moulton, I think his name was, or something like that.
William Moulton Marsden.
Yeah,
you just got the name round the wrong way.
Right. And Marsden, a psychologist and big fan of fucking kink.
Polyamory, bondage, he loved it all. Feminism.
He also, I believe, was really into polygraphs and...
he helped pioneer the polygraph machine,
and actually he was involved in a case where a guy went to jail and all that, and he was like, no, I could help him. And then everybody realised that his polygraph science was bullshit.
Yeah.
So it didn't help the guy, and the guy went to jail for 30 years or some shit. But the main takeaway for this is that Moulton Marsden, basically his great contribution to superheroes was, what if they were kinky? And fair play.
In fairness to him, a lot of it was breaking the bondage of the patriarchy to empower women.
Yeah. I'll pay women to, break free of the bonds of the patriarchy all the time. Yeah. And other stuff, but that's fine. So basically, he gets tied up by a woman and she controls him. Oh, okay. Cool. I'm sure there's no subtext there.
But, it is... I mean, you've got the bracelets of submission. That's what her bracelets were called in the comic. And she wore the sandals of Hermes. So interestingly, he weaponizes her costume. It was like, okay, she's going to look sexy. It's going to be like in a sex positive costume, but it's functional for a warrior. So as much as he was a kinky mister, the sort of thought process behind the costume was kind of like, well, how can this be practical and also kind of sexy for the woman?
But I think we can all agree, after the fucking fact. Let's not fucking pretend that he was
he started at the end and walked his way back. He's like, right, this is super sexy. How do I make this appear logical?
I think I can guarantee you with a sort of 99% certainty that is the case. So basically, he's been lassoed and he's all like, spilling the beans. I'm a spy. I was undercover in the German ranks or whatever. But what I realised is that the Nazis are developing chemical weapons.
Not Nazis. This is Kaiser Wilhelm era.
I kept saying Nazi. Yeah, sorry.
Guilt by association.
No, I've literally started writing Nazis every time in my book and scribbed it out. Like, I keep going, that's fucking World War One, you know what I mean? And fuck. Yeah, the Germans, they've got, they're developing chemical weapons.
Yeah, like a super-powered mustard gas.
Right, and so he's there and he sees this and he's like, fuck, what can I do to stop this? This is because the Germans, they're sufficient, ruthless killing machines. What they've done is left a notebook with all the information about the chemical weapons on a desk, unattended. They all turn their back and look away for about 20 minutes. So he escapes, right? Because he's like, oh man, we all thought the Germans were struggling, but they've taken over Turkey and they're making everyone make munitions and bombs for them.
It's a final big push for the Germans.
Yeah, because it's like, if they can turn the tide of the war. And so Steve Trevor's like, fuck this. He gets the notebook. He gets in a plane and he's like, I need to get this back to Britain. And he flies his plane and then he's like, oh, I'll destroy the munitions thing. And he explodes it and it goes everywhere. Yeah, I mean, there was kids in there, mate, but that's fine. I'm sure those children are fucking dead. And your second lead in this film has just done that.
I don't know how you feel. Like,
I think killing children's bad, Alan, but I mean, okay, it's weird you had to ask that.
But it's good to have the clarification. I don't know how you feel about war movies in general. Like, I have a kind of love-hate relationship with them. I don't like the jingoism of war movies, is I think what I'm trying to say. But I think it's a clever move here, setting this in World War One, because it's like we're far enough removed from it, and the motivations behind that war are slightly murkier than what led to the Second World War. But do you like the fact that it's like a kind of like First World War movie?
I think it was a good choice because it's a bit different. I mean, basically this film is like, what if 1917 was about a hot chick? Right? Like, when I was watching 1917, I was like, this is a great film, but at no point do I want to belt one out. It's really hard to masturbate to 1917. I'm not a hug-a-hoodie pacifist like yourself because I live in the real world, but that's fine. You know, I'm not a closeted West End effete man for whom the struggles of people worldwide is but nothing but fodder for your dinner party chat. But that's fine. That's fine, Alan. That's fine. If you as a pacifist would have been happy to let Hitler roll through Europe, then all I'm saying is, my name's Alan Johnson and I love Hitler. And I think that's just not cool. I'm just putting it out there.
Rewind the tape back and just see that that's exactly what I said.
Yeah. Let's do it right now. Hello. I'm Alan Johnson. I'm not as good as Chris. Also, I love Hitler. Wow. I mean, fair. But that's fine. So I'm just one of these people that's kind of against murderous despots, but, you know, I guess that makes me some sort of centrist dad. I do think that war movies, you know, if they're well made, are great, because obviously all sort of art, even entertainment like this, is about stakes. You know what I mean? Even in a superhero film. So obviously war for narrative drama, you know, the stakes are pretty fucking big. Yeah. You don't have to make an audience understand why this is important, because it's like, well, it's fucking war.
But anyway, let's fast forward. So the Germans arrive, they have a big battle on the beach, and basically Steve is secreted away by Diana, and they go to London to take the secrets of Dr. Poison to London and hopefully bring an end to the war.
So Steve has stolen this book of like chemical compounds and shit, I guess. He's stolen it from a doctor who the Germans have nicknamed Dr. Poison. By the way, I just want to point out it's a really terrible name for a character. But it's like, the doctor here, she's very good at making poisons. Oh, what should we call her, Franz? What should we call her? Dr. Poison? We are so funny. It's like, Jesus Christ. What about Dr. Half-Face? She's got some mad fucking stuff on her face, right? That actually, Dr. Poison sounds like a song on a heavy metal 80s album about the guy that sells them drugs, you know? So Dr. Poison is the one that's creating this stuff and writes it down on a wee notebook. And then there's Danny Houston, and he's like this really angry, aggressive fucking guy. He really loves war.
General Ludendorff.
Right? Again, that's what I call my cock. You know, he's really into war and stuff like that. Hey, could that be Ares, the god of war?
Yeah, he seems really into keeping this war going. Loves a bit of war.
Loves it, just like the god of war.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, unless anything happens in the future of this film, I think we've pretty much figured out who the god of war is in this film.
Pretty clear who the bad guy is.
Yeah. So we then get Wonder Woman going, right, if there's a war going on, it's got to be Ares. And we, the audience, are like, it's fucking Danny Houston, right? We've just seen in that flashback within a flashback. Chris Pine's like, well, let's get out of here. And she's like, I'll get you back to London and you get me to the war and I will kill Ares. And I will end the war by killing Ares. Poor sweet, innocent Wonder Woman.
The enemy in this film, Chris, some could say, is war itself.
Oh, nice. Subtext. Or text. So then we get to about the film. It's a cracking bit of fun where basically Wonder Woman, who's never been outside the island, gets taken to London. And loads of like really fun sort of fish out of water stuff there. Chris Pine's secretary,
Lucy Davis.
Yeah, and there's like a little bit of fun with her like picking outfits for Wonder Woman because obviously she's kicking about in her Wonder Woman gear in London in fucking 1917 or whatever. It's going to turn heads. So they have a little shopping
I think what I
scene.
quite like about this film is that it sort of takes the things that we expect are going to happen in this. You know, we're going to hit the fish out of water stuff. Men are bad. We're going to hit the feminism. But it's not like the other films in the DCEU where we've seen it these points laboured. It's like, well, we've hit that note. People were expecting it. Let's get it and get it done. It's kept light and it's kept fun and it's kept brief.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. We're not going to spend the next fucking 40 minutes doing it. It's just a wee 15 minutes or so sequence, you know, and then we're in, we're out, job done. Yeah, so that's all fun, you know, and basically Steve is like, the Germans have got chemical weapons and they're gonna fucking, the war might not be over. And it's like, what are we going to do? And it's like, but we're negotiating for peace, so we can't be seen to do anything.
I think this is an interesting bit where the next pawn that gets put into play is David Thewlis shows up as a politician who's trying to orchestrate peace, or at least a disarmament in the war.
It's obviously, you know, when he comes in, you realise it's a very minor role. You're like, that's really great they've got David Thewlis, noted brilliant actor of TV and film, to do this very minor role in this big Hollywood production. We'll hardly ever see him anywhere else again in this film. Pretty strong casting for a small role, but you know, probably nothing.
These are big movies, Chris. These are big movies. They get
That's
in
it.
the big
But basically
movies.
they get told you can't do anything. But then it's like Steve's like, no, I know how dangerous it's going to be. We need to go in undercover and destroy these chemical weapons.
Because she's like, no, I've come to stop war and I'm not into politics. Like, I don't want bureaucracy holding my process up. I need to just go out and stop war.
She does believe that it's the God of War that's doing that, and when she kills this God of War, everything's going to be fine. So they need to get a crew together to go to the front. I think we all love getting a crew together.
A ragtag bunch of dogs of war.
Ah, beautiful. This is great. This has got some classic getting a team together stuff. You've got the guy that wants to be an actor, but he's not been able to be an actor because of the colour of his skin.
He's North African, yeah.
This is super racist times. Also, so is now. But anyway, even worse, right? But he's really good because of his sort of skills in acting and stuff. He's really good at like charming people and getting things and talking people around.
Yeah, he's out just like conning people and stuff.
Yeah. And then we get the other member of the team who's like a sharpshooter guy, played by Spud from Trainspotting. And yeah, sure, that's his name. Spud from Trainspotting. And he's a Scottish guy in a Hollywood movie. So of course he's a raging alcoholic. He's an absolute drunk. And you know what? That's another disgraceful fucking cliche. It's absolutely disgusting and brutal and also absolutely true. Pretty much every Scottish person I know is a raging alcoholic. So fair play.
I actually really like Ewan Brennan in this film, and when he first shows up, I don't like him. Like in his first few moments on screen, I don't like him because he's playing it very broad.
He's Scottishing it up, isn't he? He's joking it up, shuck and jive.
Exactly. After that initial introductory scene, he's brilliant. Actually, he is a man who's damaged by war and haunted by the ghosts of the people that he's killed, and he's trying to blot it out by abusing alcohol. And it's the last of the team. It's rounded out with like a Native American tracker.
Of course it is. But he's really more of a smuggler as well, because he's getting people's stuff as well. It's very unclear. Let's be honest, it's very much a ragtag bunch of different people from different backgrounds, so we're all in. You've got Wonder Woman, who's a warrior. You've got that guy whose skill is in smuggling and getting people to places. You've got Ewan Bremner, he's a sharpshooter. You've got the actor guy, who's really good at conning people. And then you've got Chris Pine, who has just beautiful eyes. Beautiful eyes. And that's all the skills you need, innit? Oh, and also they're funded by David Thewlis. He pops back up again, and he's like, although we can't sanction it, I think it's important that you go, here's some money to fund this undercover off-book action. And you go, fuck, guys, he's back again. David Thewlis. That's really good, considering he's a really big actor.
That's why they got the big guy in, because he's got 2 big scenes in this movie.
2 big scenes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Get your money's worth when you get it. A David Thewlis. But obviously, the gang, they need to get over there because Chris Pine and his lads, they want to stop the chemical weapons, and Wonder Woman, she's away to kill Ares, the god of war, which is definitely Danny Houston, the German army guy.
Absolutely.
Definitely. There's no one else of any standing that could be.
I quite like this bit of the movie. Actually,
that's what I was going to say. It's pretty fun.
Where Wonder Woman is really getting to know her squad. Like if you compare it to Captain America, when Captain America gets his kind of ragtag bunch, the Howling Commandos, they're kind of anonymous in that movie. Like it's their costume is what kind of differentiates them. But in this movie, we actually really get to know the people she's with, and they tell tales about one another, and it's quite warm, and the bonding there really sort of gives it a bit of weight.
Yeah, so they're at the front. She's like, so we need to go over there and help these people. This is a bit that made my eyes roll incredibly hard. But it's like, no, you can't go over there, Wonder Woman. It's no man's land. That means no man can go over there. Hey, wait a second. She's a lady. So here's the thing, right? The point isn't that she's a woman, right? The Germans still would have shot the fucking face off a woman. It's the fact that she's like a super-powered fucking Amazon.
But this sequence is incredible.
But it's great. Other than that, it's great fun.
I actually found it deeply affecting, certainly on the second watch. And when she goes over the top and the time slows down and she marches out and that first bullet's fired and, she knocks it away with her bracelet. And you're just like, this is fucking great. She's gone out to face down machine guns with a sword and a shield. It's an amazing action sequence from any of these superhero movies across the MCU or the DCEU.
It's absolutely fantastic. You just didn't need to lay on with that fucking bullshit at the start. It's just a bit on the nose, you know what I mean? Particularly when it's actually been really good, this film, at not being on the nose. But, she goes out and she crosses over no man's land against a barrage of fucking German soldiers shooting at her. And, of course, they then go over and they liberate a village on the other side. To be fair, she has also destroyed, half the church or something there. To get one guy. There's, one guy shooting her. She's just I'll just destroy half this church to get this one guy. It's I feel you've gone a bit mental there, Hen, but that's fine. So there's some pretty cool action sequences here. Mm-hmm. But, this is a film that shows you that if you believe in yourself and you believe in doing the right thing, that you can do anything. If you're a 10, if you're a 10 out of 10 smoke show, people will just be like, yeah, alright, you can fucking do it. It's basically hot privilege. And don't be wrong, I, something that I benefit from as well. But, only an absolute smoke show would be able to get away with the nonsense that she does in this film. I'm just going to go across to fight the Germans on the other side of the fucking no man's land, and everyone's like, oh, what you like?
So yeah, they liberate the village.
Yes.
And then they push onward to get to Ludendorff, and they know he's in the tower beyond the village, so they show up there and they've got to hatch a plan. He's having a big party, because naturally you're about to kind of extend the war, you want to have a big party.
Yeah, they've got a grand ball.
Naturally, if I was Wonder Woman, my plan would be stick the sword down the back of a super nice dress and just charge in and try to stab the cunt in the middle of his own party, which I guess goes back to what you're saying. If you're a smoke show, you've just talked everybody into whatever lunacy you've dreamed up.
Yeah, again, there's fucking hundreds of trained professional soldiers standing guard at this ball. And Steve is right, we've got to fucking steal a car, and then you'll pretend to be my driver, and we'll go in, we'll have this pure elaborate thing to get us into this grand ball. And Wonder Woman just basically knocks some clothes off a woman, right? Yeah. And obviously just walks up to the thing with a sword hanging from her back, and every guy's there's like, hi, are you here for the ball? Yeah, that's really nice. Are you not here with it? I'm just going to stay here. Okay, it'd be cool to hang out sometime. But yeah, it's basically that. Again, that's realistic. That's they ground this film in the realism of hot privilege, that if you're good looking, you're just going to be like, yeah, you can come into this party. But we don't need to see your ID. It's fine. So yeah, they go to the ball and then they realise that basically...
Dr. Poison and Ludendorff are about to debut this new mustard gas, this super powerful mustard gas. And so Wonder Woman doesn't just get to stab the bad guy in the face in the middle of his party. Her plan's thwarted. And then he launches this prototype of this gas bomb into the village Wonder Woman and crew have just liberated. And Wonder Woman suddenly just struck by the futility of it all.
Because he loves war. Danny Huston loves war.
Because we're looking for somebody that loves war.
Remember,
it's like a detective film inside this superhero film.
And obviously it would have to be like an actor of stature that's going to be the God of War. So surely it's got to be Danny Huston.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to make him the God of War, so it's Danny Huston. Right, excellent stuff.
So we've got a bit of tension now because Wonder Woman's annoyed at Steve because he stopped her from stabbing Ludendorff. So she pursues him to this airbase where he's loading the poison gas onto a bomber that's headed for London.
So at this point then, Wonder Woman's lost it. So she goes to Dr. fucking Hugenworth, whatever his name is, Danny Huston, and she's like, yeah, fuck you, man. And then he's like, oh yeah, and Dr. Poison's been giving him some like, it's basically like speed or something.
Yeah.
That she gives him like a potion that makes him really strong.
Some Walter White meth.
Yeah, and so they have a wee fight and she's like, I'm going to kill you because you're Ares, the God of War. When I kill you, all the Germans will be free of the spell of war and everyone will be peaceful again. It's quite good because the guy isn't like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're mental. She stabs Danny Huston. She kills him with a sword. The sword that obviously, that's the God killer, isn't it? The sword, The sword is the God killer. Or maybe it's something else too. We've been very vague about it. Mm-hmm.
It's all of the obvious points coming. We're in the evil bad guy's base. All the bad stuff's there. This is us. We're at the nexus of evil.
Yeah. She's used the God killer, which is definitely a sword, to definitely kill Danny Huston, who's definitely the God of War.
That's right.
She kills him. She still hears like war stuff going on. Sees like people doing war stuff, and she's like, that's a hell of a thing. Do you know what she should have tried? She should have tried singing Imagine at them. Oh, maybe that would have helped. But wait, guys. Wait. Your mind's about to be blown. Dear listener, are you sitting down? Who's just magically appeared? It's fucking David Thewlis. What? And then he's starting to talk like all evil and shit. Holy fuck, guys. They've pulled a magical switcheroo. They've pulled the wool over mine, Alan's, and everyone who's watched this film. Noted character actor David Thewlis wasn't just in this for 2 scenes at the start. No. He is Ares, the God of War. Oh no, she takes the God Killer. She goes to stab him with the sword, because that's what she thinks the God Killer is. And immediately, and he's just like smashes the sword up, and he's like, that's not the God Killer. And I'm like, what the fuck? What's happening here? Is he about to blow our minds twice in one scene? And he's like, you're the God Killer. Oh my God, guys. Wow.
His performance here is about 1 notch away from him twirling the mustache that he's got. It's like, he's so arch. But I kind of like the fact that, you know, I see what they're trying to do. Like they made Ares like a politician, and it's a neat trick to be, it's the politicians that create these situations. It might not just be the kind of like despotic generals that action it.
Deep.
So I kind of like that, but just how it's been set up, it's pretty lame. And also this is a tipping point for me where I suddenly go, oh, this movie's been brilliant up until now, and then it hits a point where I go, this is when it turns on.
This is when it turns into another DC movie, right?
Yeah,
up until this point,
got to have the obligatory big final CGI fight.
Up to this point, it's been fun, and it's not terrible. It's just bang average at this point.
As good as Thewlis is, I don't think he is convincing enough in his turn. Like, even though they like muscle him up through CGI, I don't think it works. I don't know if you remember Blade, like at the end of Blade, when Stephen Dorff becomes a blood god.
which I think we can all agree the effects in that definitely still hold up. In the movie, like in the delete scene, they wanted to have like an actual blood god show up, but then at that point it's not Stephen Dorff. That's a person you've been like kind of associating with this role throughout the movie. When you have a transformation so late in the day, like the audience switch off and you're like, well, I don't know what this new thing is. Yeah. And that's my problem with Ares here, is that it goes from being like Thewlis and it's not convincing enough, and I just sort of like tune out. I'm just like, it's a bit shit. Well, again, I think there's a thing they do a lot, which is like, this guy's like the God of War and he has all these like fucked up powers and stuff, but we also need to bulk him up and give him Hunter's armour, and it's like, you didn't need to do that. You've already proven that he can move things with like his fucking mind and shit, you know? And he can create weapons out of fucking nothing.
And you could have a more interesting final battle using that. It doesn't have to be this big muscled, everything's about power, biggest force wins the day. Like, it could be more interesting.
It's been a cliche, but, you know, we'll mention it. These things just, they just look like a computer game cutscene. That's what all these DCEU fights look like. So this is when it just does turn into a sort of dark, fake-ass looking thing. And it's Weta Digital that do the work. And, you know, and I don't know if it's a time crunch, because obviously visual effects houses are notoriously underpaid and overworked. Or is it a production design thing where it's like, this is a very generic look that is being imposed on these films? I genuinely don't know. If it's an in-house style, at some point they've got to realise that you could do it well. I just feel that it's not done well. The character design, the animation, the way that it's shot, and the actual design of the creatures, if you will, just always looks very generic. Like something you've seen in a million things.
Yeah, the weird flashback animation explaining the story of Ares at the beginning of the movie was more convincing than the Ares that's actually in the film at the end.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's a weird thing. This bit is why I've said this one was pretty good rather than great, because the final 25 minutes or whatever, and it's still not, you know, it doesn't bring the whole thing down.
Well, because while Wonder Woman and Ares are having this battle, in the background, Chris Pine is flying off into the sky with all of the toxic bomb gas, and he's going to destroy it in the upper atmosphere so that it's destroyed and then the war can end.
Sacrificing himself.
Exactly, heroically. Like a handsome bastard, just taking one for the team.
Those beautiful eyes. One last look at Wonder Woman, and then he's like, right, I'm going to sacrifice myself. And it's great because he tells her this the first time. She's got a bit of tinnitus from a fight she's been having, so she doesn't quite hear what he's saying, and then he fucks off. And then later in the film, when she's at her lowest ebb, when Ares is like, humanity's shit, kill them all, and she's like, maybe humanity is shit, she suddenly realises what he said to her. Now, I have tinnitus. That's not how it works, pal. You don't you don't just have to think about it. You're like, what? What? You glove me? You glove me? I don't even know what that means, pal. So, again, on behalf of my tinnitus sufferers, I just want to say, but
it's nice because at that point that's what turns the tide. Pine sacrificing himself, that's really heroic, and it's pretty heartbreaking because, you know, there's real affection between these two characters that we've got in the film. And also Wonder Woman, as you say, it looks like she's lost hope, she's lost her way. Because
it's the first time a hot person's been told no. They're just like, what do you mean?
But she suddenly now has the resources of, like, the war can be destroyed by compassion and love and empathy. And she digs deep into that and she turns it, and she realises at that point that, the sword wasn't the god killer, I'm the god killer, and she thwarts Ares.
And then, as soon as Ares dies, literally all the Germans are like, rubbing their heads and going,
like Peter Powers just clicked his fingers and they all woke up going, was I eating an onion like an apple?
That's a fucking local reference, eh? That's a local reference to a Glasgow hypnotist. Well done, everyone. But they're all like rubbing their tails going, were we just like exterminating thousands and thousands of innocent people there? That's weird. And this movie then is like, yeah. Actually, she was 100% right. And the reason everyone was at war was because of the god Ares. And at this point, I'm like, what? Wait, what? Because this whole film, like, it actually been really, despite the odd eye-rolling moment, it has been relatively, I hasten to use the word complex, but at least have some subtlety. By the way, the whole point is that mankind is capable of wonderful, brilliant, beautiful things, but also horrible, terrible things. And one of the things I enjoyed about this film was, like, they're basically saying, actually, the world is a fucking complex place, and things are unfair, and there's bad things that happen, but that's not necessarily a reason to just become a sort of dead-eyed cynic, and you can still try and do good things. And then at the end of the film, she kills the bad guy and everyone turns good, and I'm like, wait, what? Why did we have all these discussions before?
Especially because what happens is the First World War ends, and then we fast forward like 100 years and she's in the Louvre. You're like, where were you during the Second World War, Wonder Woman? Did you not just go and kill Ares again? Just the logic, or just that massive gap.
So every other war was basically us.
Because it was the Great War, you only show up for the good stuff.
I mean, also, good bit of PR there, they're calling it the Great War. It was merely okay. But the thing is that as soon as that happens, I'm like, well, hold on. All you've done for this entire film, Hen, is kill thousands of Germans. Going across the front, you were like stabbing them, bullets ricocheting. You brought down a whole building on one guy, but what you're saying to me is that none of those were actually bad guys. If you'd managed to kill Ares quicker, and actually her team were going to her, we need to go at that ball as soon as possible. And she's like, no, we need to go across the front. So,
yeah.
She was like, we need to help these people. But if you'd killed Ares quicker, then you wouldn't have had to kill any of those Germans, and they'd all be free from Ares' fucking influence, and they'd all be like you, like hug-a-hoodie, fucking puppy-loving, fucking nice boys, right?
Hey, mate, give peace a chance.
Aye, listen, you know what happened to that cunt. So, I'm just saying, that's the dumbest part of this film.
Yeah.
So dumb.
This film is 90% amazing.
Yes.
And that last little bit is just bleh.
Yeah.
I would have been happy if Danny Houston died and just that action was enough for Ares to be like, oh, my plan's fucked, and then he goes away and we don't have that last battle.
Or even she defeats Ares, but what he said was true, is that, you know, I just helped nudge things along. This is an inherent thing.
Like, the politics of things have to resolve.
And then just human nature. You know, human nature is war and conquering, right? Mm-hmm. You know, if they had that in the film, then of course the story is that Wonder Woman goes, well, I need to be here to help these poor humans. You know, they can be guided towards like dark or light. So I want to be here to try and help them and protect them from those that would push them against. And that's why Wonder Woman kicks about for the next fucking century and a bit and fucking helps people. So yeah, but I mean, you know what? It's a good film. I think in my DC Extended Universe ranking, as I say, I think it's a solid number 2. Unlike Suicide Squad, which is a number 2. I think it's good fun. Definitely not as good as Shazam.
Shazam in that world of superhero movies is doing something different.
Yeah.
It's not like the classic, like, the stakes are the world's going to end. It's a much different story.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is great. Just this last little bit.
Yeah.
It's a shame. And then there's a big drop off. But the other side of it is, obviously, we've looked at this movie again because Wonder Woman 84 is having a Christmas release. So, having rewatched this movie, are you excited now about this sequel?
Yeah,
are you hopeful lightning can strike twice?
Yeah, I think so, because obviously it's I think it's, you know, they've got the gang back together still. It's Patty Jenkins that's doing it. I think that doing it in the 80s is a cool, groovy, fun setting for these sort of things. And I say I really did like Wonder Woman. So I'm pretty much looking forward to it. Listen, one thing I do want to point out is that on the Wonder Woman island, Amazon island, you know, they all do speak in a kind of slightly Greek, slightly Israeli accent. And some of the actresses can do it a lot better than others, because there's one or two there that, I'm not going to lie, sounded like Borat. It was very much, it was like, yeah, being Amazon is nice. And I was like, I'm not entirely sure that's you've nailed that hint. Bye.
Thanks, guys. He was originally called Captain Marvel, and they had to stop calling him Captain Marvel because, of course, Marvel Comics then became a bigger thing, and then people were getting confused. Captain Marvel was a DC hero, but in reality, you know, there was Marvel Comics, and then, of course, that leads to Ms. Marvel, and that's another female superhero where, like, don't have ladies, don't have boobs and super suits. I don't need it, guys. Come on.
I mean, that's like when I make jokes about me being like an idiot, and I'm like, I'm not really an idiot, but then my brain's like, yeah. That's what it is. Right, we're going to play the clip from the last time we discussed Wonder Woman.
Gal Gadot, I think, is just a perfect creature. I mean, she's insane.
I mean, listen, that just sounds a bit creepy, not going to lie. Which is weird, because I was going to say she looks like a pure pump.